Hey everyone, today I want to talk about the process of acquiring new mental skills. So, what am I talking about when I talk about mental skills? I'm talking about when you become aware of a new pattern or a new thing you want to implement in your life. And, you know, basically, these skills can pertain to changing the way that you talk to yourself, changing the way you interact with other people, changing the way you solve problems, changing the way that you look at things. And yeah, like what I think the crucial distinction is between like becoming aware of the skill and developing it within a specified context where you're like, yep, I'm going to learn this skill, I'm going to go and practice this. But it's another thing entirely to start implementing it in your day-to-day life where you're not really thinking about the skill. Because when you're training the skill, it's relevant, it's in your brain, and you're working on it, and you're conscious of it. But when you're going out on your day-to-day life and the skill becomes relevant, it won't necessarily trigger in your brain like, oh yeah, I want to do this thing. I want to sit and open my heart with this person instead of kind of like manage them, for example. And this subject is pretty important to me because I have learned so many things about myself over the past year or so. So many things that I've learned that improve the way that I function, that improve the way that I relate to people, that improve my enjoyment of life and my ambition. And then I get confused on like 6 months later, why am I still in the same place I was? It's like I never even learned anything. Why does my life not change in proportion to my rate of like awareness increasing? And the thing is, it takes time. It really does take time to have something integrate into life because you can't control how your consciousness is going to be in 2 days, in 3 days, 4 days. And as much as you would like to change the way you're doing things, and like you see, like, oh yeah, I want to take things less seriously when I'm hanging out with people. You'll have that intention, but you'll completely forget it. And on the one hand, it's important to let things happen, to let things develop organically. Like, your brain will do a lot of processing all by itself. And if you try to force things to integrate, it's often not going to work because you will be integrating it from like a lower level of awareness. It will be like, for me, I will be trying to implement like kind of a being based skill where I'm being more in wonder and being less serious. But when I try to implement that, it becomes like a management. It's like, okay, I have to force myself to do it. And so you end up not really implementing the skill, even though you're trying to implement it. The level of consciousness that you had when you first became aware of it and had the breakthrough isn't the same as where you're at now. So it takes time. It takes time to have things integrate into life, especially when you learn a whole bunch of things. And yeah, when you try to integrate things too quickly, you end up not integrating them as much at all because, you are a part of what allows you to learn new things is being in an open state of mind, a state of mind that is expansive, that's receptive and sensitive. And when you try to, you say like, okay, I'm going to make a clear intention. I'm going to remember to do this thing at this time in this way. That can be great, but what ends up happening most of the time is you end up trying to implement the thing as if you already know it, as if you already know the skill. And so that closes you down to learning. I don't know what fucking spiritual story this came from, but I think it's from Zen or whatever. And it's like this teacher has a student coming in, and I think it's the Buddha, and the student keeps coming in being like, hey, teach me this thing. And then they get like disagree, and the guy never learns anything. And then the Buddha or whatever gives him like a cup of tea, and then he starts pouring it, and he keeps pouring and keeps pouring and keeps pouring, and the guy's just like, it's overflowing, the tea's going everywhere, and the guy's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, oh, yeah, well, I'm just kind of doing what you're doing. Like, I can't really pour any teachings into your head unless you empty yourself out. And so I think that is probably the critical thing that's missing from um, consciously integrating something you're learning, is like you have to be open while you're doing it. Like, you're in a learning phase. You don't already know it. If you knew it, it would have already integrated. So there's like one extreme where you don't do any integration, and it'll happen by itself, don't get me wrong. But then there's the other extreme where you try to force it, and that's not where you want to be. Of course, and it's everything in its own time. If you do that, that's okay. It's a part of the learning process. But ideally, you want to spend at least some of your time kind of having a tension, like, okay, I'm going to have a reminder on my phone reminding me to do this thing differently. You know, I'll hold like a rock that reminds me to be more in my body when I'm talking to people. A reminder on your phone, or you have people remind you. And you have that bit of structure and intention, but you're holding it loosely. And that looseness is what allows the real learning to organically flourish and put roots down in your life and become something you actually live by. All right, but I think that's kind of the message I want to get across.